out among the islands, way up in the coral sea. Two things always go together. The ukulele waltz at the Mangrove Hotel. I remember.
Winner of numerous national awards, including 2 Arias, Seaman Dan is a man of mixed Jamaican, Polynesian and Melanesian heritage who has gained recognition as a singer-songwriter of island and maritime songs. However, at the age of 19, his ambitions were quite different.
I don't want to be dicky all the time, all my life. I'll try to put the helmet on, and when I got the opportunity to put the helmet on, I grabbed it with both hands and I said yes. 1949, I was skipper of a pearling vessel.
But more on Seaman's diving career later. Firstly about his singing and songwriting. Unfortunately, Seaman was in hospital when I first went to TI to conduct the interviews for this DVD. And it was sometime later that I was able to get Carl Neuenfeld, his manager, and cameraman Tim Petrie, to conduct the interview for me. But I subsequently met Seaman the following year when we launched the DVD on Thursday Island.
Where did the singing come from? I know it's your lungs, but was it your mum or dad's influence, grandpa or grandpa?
Family?
In the early days, Mum Dan used to play the button accordion. And as a young fella, my inspiration, Mum Dan always had one of those wind-up gramophones, and she always had Tex Morton records. So as an 80-year-old, Tex Morton was my inspiration in those days.
He had nothing to do with Pearl songs, but so who was an inspiration in the community as far as who did you admire in the community?
Well, Charlie Ahmet, good guitar. He plays a Hawaiian guitar, and as regards singing, he was another inspiration for me. This was when I was a teenager then. And he used to sing, and I used to listen to him. And he inspired me also to carry on. When you're on a pearling lugger, I've always had a guitar on board, but you're not allowed, well, you can if you want to, but there seemed to be no time for that, because you're working all the time. Even you're out at sea for about 8 to 10 days a neap, or sometimes 2 to 3 weeks. So there is no time for music until you come ashore. Then you get your leave, shore leave, and you take your guitar ashore, you meet the boys from different luggers, and we'd all have a party then. We'd hire 2 taxis, we'd go up to Millman Hill and take some refreshments up there and get out of everyone's way. We make all the noise, yakai up on the hill, so we don't disturb anyone then. And that's the way it always has been with us. I keep thinking of Pearl Children parties. Whenever we come into port, the TI girls, they'd put a party on for us, and it's usually at the town hall, a dance night sort of thing. So it was very good.
Out at sea, pearl shell diving remained a very serious and dangerous business.
I worked on 6 different pearling vessels, and most of them had Thursday Island cruise divers. On a pearling vessel, everyone pulls their weight, and if you can't fit in with the crew, well, you don't work on that particular vessel, because we want it to be a happy vessel. Everyone pulls their weight. And I've never experienced any crew member going against the skipper or the rest of the crew. We always work together, no matter what island the crew or the diver comes from. We all do our work and make the vessel a happy vessel. And well, that's what pearling vessel life is like. Everyone's got to pull their weight and make this vessel a happy vessel. Well, it's competitive because you've got all the up-and-coming young divers, and, then you think, oh, well, you're getting old, so you can't beat age.
How do you think you got to being one of the top divers?
It took a lot of hard work, and, well, you got to have that go. You want to do it, you want to be there, so you got to push. You got to push to be up there. I'm racing up against the top divers. I'm only a young diver. At one particular NEAP I went out, I wasn't on wages, I was on contract. The experienced diver working on another, same company, but a Duffield company working on another vessel, he was getting £100 a ton. No wages, you got to pick up your shell to get money. So he was on £100 a ton, and Mr. Duffield said, well, you're just a young diver. I can't give you £100 a ton like Peter Adams, he's an experienced diver, but I'll give you £75 a ton. Well, I thought, gee whiz, that's a big jump from £15 a month to £100 a ton. And I really worked my butt off to beat the experienced divers. First NEAP out, first trip out, we came in with 6 pearl shells. It was a fouled up NEAP. It wasn't clear at all. So I picked up 2 shells. The other 4 divers, they picked up 4 shells. So Mr. Duffield said, you want an advance? You'll do better next time. And I said, well, I only picked up 2 shells, Mr. Duffield. Here, take £20. I said, no, give me £5, please. So I took that £5 advance. The next NEAP out, we come in with 4 ton, 600 weight of pearl shells. The other 4 divers, they picked up 3 tons. I picked up 1 ton, 600 weight of pearl shells. And that's really working. And he said, you're going to be a good diver one day. So he offered me this to skipper that boat in 1949. This was 1948, the following year. And I thought, gee, that's a big jump from a young learner diver to skipper a pearling vessel. I said, I've got no experience as a skipper. Nicholas Weimar, he's the dad of my 2 young mates, Ray Weimar and Ted Weimar. And he'd look after you on board, well, even when you're down. I said, all right, I'll get all my crew together, and I said, I'll pick the workers that I know, which were most of them were my relatives. But the divers I got from Cowell Creek over at Cape York, and they were good young divers. 2 was 22 years of age, and the eldest was 23, and they were good divers, top divers.
The dangers of pearl shell diving and the numbers of men lost in the industry are legendary, especially the dreaded bends, which was caused by diving too deep or not staging properly.
There is no shortcuts. Anything over 10 fathoms, you've got to stage, even if it's only for 5 minutes. So we're working 18 to 25 fathoms. Your first staging level is at 15 fathoms. You hang there for 5 minutes. Next staging level is at 10 fathoms. You hang there for 10 minutes. And at 5 fathoms, you hang there for 15 minutes. And the most critical is at 2.5 fathoms. You hang there for 20 minutes. Keep that left hand. If you're right-handed, you pick up all that on your lifeline all the time. It's called your lifeline. Never let that go. And your right hand is for picking up pearl shells. So you've got to be very careful what you do, because you've got all your lead weights on your corselet, and the helmet is heavy enough to tip you over. Once you get tipped over, all the water comes into your helmet, and you got to let the helmet go and start swimming for the surface. A young diver lost his life. He slipped out of the helmet. Not like in the suit, you're strapped in, you can't come out. But with the helmet and corselet, anything happens like that, you can just slip out your helmet. And he must have had a heart attack or something underneath, and he slipped out of his helmet. And we went looking for the body. There was 30 pearling vessels working in the same area. It's a big area. And we couldn't find his body. So we sailed back to TI in a funeral procession, one lugger behind the other, full sail back to TI. We're about 25 miles away from TI. We sailed all night. That's the only time I've had to use all the sails. But it was an exhilarating feeling. You hit the sea and you get the spray all over the deck, and it's a wonderful sensation. You know you're alive.
But in earlier times, when luggers were without engines and at the mercy of the wind and tide, death by snagging on an underwater reef was far more common.
The current would take them drag them under the reef, and then they get caught there, and then the air hose would snap, their lifeline would snap, and that's their coffin. That's happened to a lot of divers there in the early days. If I had a diver's helmet, I'd take my helmet off to them. They were very courageous divers. They were experimenting. They opened the road for us younger divers. Saw shark, he would have been about 50, 60 feet away from me, and the visibility was so good. And he came straight at me like a saw shark out of Hades. And I'm trying to duck in the helmet, and there's nowhere to hide. He came straight at me, and I'm sweating in the helmet. And about 20 feet away from me, about 10 feet, he stopped abruptly, turned around and swam away. I was only down there for half an hour. I had to come up on deck. I was shaking.
Pearl shell diving declined in the early 1960s. Seaman, like so many other islanders, found himself in a variety of jobs on the mainland, including cane cutting and jackarooing, and even building railways in the northwest of Western Australia. In retirement, Seaman and a few mates found more time for their music. They began by singing around a few of the pubs in TI. It was about this time that Seaman was discovered by Carl Neuenfeld, music researcher and academic at Central Queensland University. Carl became Seaman's manager and close friend. One of Seaman's best known songs, and certainly my favourite, is the Torres Strait Hula.
Torres Strait Hula is about the Mill Sisters. That song was written as a tribute to the Mill Sisters, famous Mill Sisters of Thursday Island. And they made T.I. Blues, my song, famous for me, and I appreciate that.
Doing the Torres Strait Hula, each one a story to tell. The beauty of music in motion, and that sweet, sweet frangipani smell. Cesar, Ina and Rita, swaying as they sing along. From TI to Sydney and Europe, traveling with a smile and a song. Hello, Cocky, is how they tune the ukulele. It just might be perfect island harmony, making me smile.
Seaman's recording career didn't begin till he was 70. He put down a total of 8 albums with the assistance of Carl and Nigel Pegram and others. He has performed throughout Australia and gained a host of awards along the way, the last at the grand old age of 90.
Being with my old mates, we talk about the old times, the old days when we were young, and we have a big laugh. We talk about our near fatalities and our lucky escapes, and we laugh about it.
And one final question, where did you get the nickname Seaman?
That's what, thank you.
As a 16-year-old on the Great Barrier Reef swimming for tortoiseshell, the crews were waiting for me on shore to row it, pick them up. rowed ashore, and they said, jokingly said to each other, "Here comes Seaman Dan." There's a 16-year-old, that name stuck to me till today.
Oh, the southeast wind will blow all around us, and the winter wind can chill us to the bone. We will sail the Torres Strait and East Coast waters. In working time we have to sail about. Oh, sailing the southeast wind. Oh, Sager Gubanu. Oh, Sager Wagwamli. We are sailing, sailing home. We are working men, but sometimes